Yeah, so yeah, great to meet you, Jamie. It's kind of weird seeing you in real life after you started off as just a social media character, and now here you are before me. So that's funny.
Namaste, Paul. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, welcome back to New England, and how's life in New York City now treating you?
It's always like good to feel home. I'm born and raised New
Yeah.
Yorker, so I'm coming home. Brooklyn is new for me, though.
Oh, okay, right on. Actually, I was going to tell you, I went to Ellis Island last year to visit the Ancient Aliens crew. They were doing a live event in New Jersey, right over the border, and so I got to see them live for like a 2 hour lecture, and then I just went to Ellis Island the next day. Yeah,
That's rad. Oh, I'd love to hear about that.
right. Yeah. Tsoukalos, he was sick though, so he was like on a screen.
Oh, that's a bummer.
So yeah, your company Trannabis Chi, it's in the middle of a rebrand, so it's tough to say what your business is going to look like in the near future. But I figured we could start off with the fact that so I know cannabis played a pivotal role in your personal healing journey, both with physical and mental health. So can you tell us what were the realizations or events that made you decide I want to start a spiritual wellness business built around using cannabis as the main way to help other people?
Thank you for that question. It really comes
Yeah.
down to my own personal journey and what was helpful for me. And I
Hmm.
simply began to share that and realize that there were not others who were living with the various experiences that I have undergone. There's a lot of overlap on the wider scale in terms of those who are interested in spirituality and unconditional love and cannabis and wellness overall. But there wasn't really anybody who was I was seeing was like trans, queer, and you know experiencing a very big health journey and a spiritual journey kind of all at once, sharing these things. And the way that Trannabis started was the movement of bridging the gap between the LGBTQ, AI2S plus, and cannabis communities. So ultimately, my creation of Trannabis Chi was to serve spiritual cannabis consuming high achievers who wanted to live a balanced life and healthy life through deepening intimacy and loving unconditionally. And the pivot right now is to just go deeper into my actual purpose of anchoring the remembrance of unconditional love back into Gaia and the collective. And so, what I'm doing is effectively niching and also going even wider than ever before. Um, Waken is my new company that has been announced, and I have also announced that I'm like very slowly pivoting into that. So Trannabis Chi and Trannabis is still everywhere in all the places. Trannabis LLC will remain. The legacy and the movement of Trannabis will continue because it's still necessary. However, as now an unconditional love coach and plant powered healer, my focus is really leaning into my purpose that much more. And cannabis plays a big role because cannabis is a heart opener. Cannabis is something that connects for me to spirit because it is a spirit. Um, for me, it's been healing on a body, mind, and soul and subtle body level entirely and always. I never realized it upon first using cannabis when I was 19 years old. I was actually very anti cannabis prior to that. And ultimately, just blew my mind when I started to connect the dots and realize how much it could help. And then when cannabis went medical in New York, I was one of the first 300 legal patients because at the time I was bedridden. And that was upon when I had my, what I refer to as like my tri awakening or waking in of my health journey, my spiritual journey, and my identity journey. That's when I started to deal with my transition. That's when I started to identify with spirituality and look into what that meant for me. And that's when I started to address my health on a new level. And cannabis saved my life. It's a huge part of my life and it's a powerful spirit. So, again, I come from my authentic experiences and I share them. And the knowledge that I've gained and the gifts I've awakened in the process have authentically come together into what people have simply asked of me. It's simply coming from what my natural gifts are. And it's an honor to really serve with cannabis. It's what I feel I'm doing is when I'm working with any of these spirits, I'm collaborating with them.
Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at it. Yeah, the interesting thing is I kind of had a similar thing with my own journey. Before we move on, like specifically health. Health was it still is the main challenge that I'm dealing with, but it started my spiritual journey, and the spiritual journey was part of that, and then also identity in a way as well. I've been refashioning my identity this whole time, and I still am today. I'm trying to reclaim my true self, so to speak, which I think everyone can probably claim for their own, really, their own journey of personal development and spirituality. It's about reclaiming your, your original identity, whether it's personality or God identity, either way. But yeah, so you're in a huge business transition, but could you give us an overview about what Trannabis Chi currently, what do you currently offer in terms of holistic services? What is your mission with this company? And then how do you incorporate cannabis into that regiment of service?
Sure. Well, first, I thank you for sharing. I love the synchronicity, even though, of
Oh yeah,
course, I don't wish a
there's tons
health
of them.
journey on anyone. I also know that they're divine journeys from my perspective. So, Trannabis Chi offers a range of spiritual wellness services that come from everything of Reiki with light language to actual spiritual wellness coaching. Ultimately, all of these phrases don't even get attached to them because well, Reiki with light language and things like that don't change ultimately. Like
True.
there's a
That's a
lot,
good
but
point.
there's a lot of other phrases that I'm going to put out here, that are right now completely being rebranded to focus that much more on the purpose. So anything from the channeled art healing sessions, anything from the intuitive cooking sessions, anything from the Trannabis Chi sessions, which is Tai Chi, Qigong, and Cannabis, all of these things, the manifesting metafix that helps you to actually learn how to manifest powerfully with plant spirits, all of these things are going to be kind of like brought into more of one. Um, and so certain things just may not resonate with certain people, and certain things will. Cannabis is roped in with, as of now, the way that I've had Trannabis Chi has been roped in with essentially every session, even if it's simply just a matter of calling in the plant spirit. Authentically, I am healing with plant spirit all day. So that is always brought in with deep intention, and people are taught how to intentionally utilize cannabis in order to live a balanced and healthy life, deep in intimacy, and love unconditionally. My biggest coaching program is a 6 months of unconditional love program through Trannabis Chi, and Trannabis Chi continued to expand and grow and offer a wide range of things from one-on-one to group to events. I spent most of the time doing one-on-one and events, and it's going through a big transformation that will, be more revealed in the very near future. But you can go to trannabischi.com, or you can go to heal.me/Jamie dash London dash Wollberg, and you will actually be able to set up a session if that's what you want, a free consultation, um, or just check out what it is that I'm offering, and stand by for all these big changes. But right now, I'm in a huge pivot, and I'm very excited to bring the same purpose of, like I said, anchoring unconditional love back into Gaia and the collective. It's really this big remembrance. That was still part of the mission within Trannabis Chi. It's just that it was very siphoned in and very focused. And now it's going to be utilized in a much different way. I had already started to open things up even more. And I look forward to focusing on waking in, which is not to say that we're not the waking up, but I believe that we are also waking in, which is ultimately waking into ourselves. Because when we love ourselves unconditionally, we can love all unconditionally. When we love all unconditionally, then we get to live in an unconditionally loving world where we get to simply serve and offer and provide the value and live the life that we each want to live. And it's just that easy as a choice. And I'm here to guide those who are ready to take on that journey and who are interested in living a life that they truly love.
Right on.
So
Yeah.
that's where we're
Yeah,
at.
yeah. Like I said, I love that concept of waking in. That's that's perfect. Yeah. So you said it's kind of collapsing into one. Do you mean like in terms of purpose, or are you actually going to try to just incorporate whatever the person's looking for? Like you're still going to use Tai Chi, for example, or you're still going to use readings and the intuitive cooking. Is it just going to be like you're going to see what the person needs, or is it just more of a purpose? You're focusing on the unconditional love sort of coaching method.
Well, the purpose was always the same. So that's never
Yeah.
changed. There's actually a lot that's not changing. It's more of the language that's changing and the widening of the net. It's just becoming more of a big picture, ultimately, than what it was, because it was super niched in, and in a way, it's going to be both. Um, there's really no way to clearly talk about this right now because I'm in process of making a massive decision, which I had like publicly put out that I was in the process of making a massive decision that's specifically around this question. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm not the true matter of the fact is that I'm not ready to talk about it because I have not
Yeah.
decided.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and
Perfect.
until I feel guided, it's a little bit puzzling to talk about, especially because I don't want to talk about something and then everyone's like, yeah, that's the thing, and then
Right.
totally change everything. It's like, no, I told you that it was in process. What matters is that everyone will receive what they need, as it always has. I didn't teach everyone Tai Chi and Qigong. I didn't do oracle readings and intuitive readings for everyone. I mean, these intuitive and oracle readings are one of my most popular things that I do. But
Oh
ultimately,
yeah.
I do what is necessary in the co-creation for what someone is needing in order to deepen intimacy, love unconditionally, and live a balanced and healthy life. And now it's going to be really focused on that remembrance of unconditional love, of which all these things feed in. And the truth is that I have so many more tools and gifts that are even on my website right now, but it's becoming way too overwhelming for me and for anyone else. So the realization is something that I've been um, resisting and processing and loving through and challenged by for over a year. And so I'm going to talk about it when I'm ready. Because
Yeah,
I
man.
promise the world will know the moment that I decide, and I can tell you all that it will be soon because I decide things very quickly. I would rather decide something, go in fully, and then change my mind. That's sorry, cats. Inspired by, um, inspired by Darla. Stop it.
It's funny.
Inspired.
I didn't even notice the cat somehow. That's
There's
pretty funny.
four in this current
Damn.
space. Only two are mine. But in any case, she's decided that now is the precise moment to get involved. I find whenever I dive into this topic, cats flock to the scene.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's like how I mentioned Giorgio. Like the universe was like, and now your audio is gonna fail right now. So you're
yeah.
waking in, and the cats are interrupting. Yeah.
Well, the cats are, 6 dimensional. They have such an incredible nurturing ability, a way to heal, to be in touch with spirit and frequency. And anytime, sorry for, and then anytime that I have these communications, I mean, like my cats are on my bed right now, just like not far off from where we are. They're never
They're
far.
they're lurking. They're waiting. They're waiting to pounce on the computer.
Yeah, well,
That's funny.
actually, they're pretty chill. I run Reiki, and cats love Reiki also.
Yeah. Okay.
In any
All
case, a
right.
little sidetrack there. Cats.
Now we gotta have the cat diversion. It's no problem. My dog is actually exiled right now for that reason, but
Oh, I love dogs.
she likes to bark too much, so she couldn't handle this. All right, my next question for you, Jamie, is oh, this is a good one. I forgot about this. So would you say there's some mystical event or psychic reading that ended up changing your life or impacting your trajectory?
Yeah, that try awakening, or waking in that exact precise moment, um, whereby and I had experienced suicidal ideations and a deep history with suicide for a very long time, on and off. However, there's truly nothing that compares to the particular moment. I was not raised religious. I was raised around in a religious environment, but not in my own home. And I actually didn't have what I felt like was spiritual guidance, like, because I don't identify with religion, truly, but I identify deeply with spirituality and have a respect for anything and everything that comes within these categories, so long as it comes from unconditional love, which I believe all intention was initially. And so ultimately, um, I was bedridden. I was in my early 20s, like just about 24, leaning into 25. I think it was probably 25 at this point. And I, from a very young age. I mean, we're talking like 2, 3 years old. It was recognized by adults around me that I was very nurturing, that it was always sort of seen that like Jamie's a helper and going to be doing something, helping people. And that became something that I was aware of certainly much later. However, I can remember some of these moments upon, being told some of these stories. Like my mom worked at the hospital and had a friend who worked in the NICU, and I took my Cabbage Patch dolls to the NICU in a stroller, and I got like real diapers and real bottles. I mean, I was always very parental and very nurturing. And so, although at that time, in this moment, and that I'm describing right now, I was unaware truly of what my purpose was outside of purely here to help. Um, it was so deep within my soul and such a deep knowing that it was devastating for me on every possible level to be bedridden and to not understand how can I help people from this space, and why am I even here if I can't do what I'm meant to be doing. And
Totally.
I'm an incredibly purpose driven person. So without that, I was in 10 out of 10 pain on every possible way you could imagine. I was in a complete suffering and lack mindset. They had no idea what was going on with me at the time. I was just racking up so many different diagnoses, like up to 12, 13 diagnoses. Like it was getting out of control. And meanwhile, all of my friends around me are in their 20s and living their best lives. And I lost the love of my life and the life that I was building, and just everything. It felt like I had lost everything. And of all the things, to not be able to connect to my purpose. So in that moment, I did something authentically for the first time that I felt like I had never done, which was that I prayed. Somehow,
Interesting.
without any real form of guidance, something that I did somehow understand in some way was karma. That was something I believed in. I can only explain now in hindsight, understanding past lives and different experiences, as to why it is that I understood that. But like outside of that, I have no idea how I truly understood that everything I was going through was directly karmic. And I believed that it was directly connected to my purpose as well. And so I prayed and I said, at the time, God, like, this is my last resort, kind of thing. Like, I don't know what else to tell you other than the fact that I don't know why I'm going through this. If I'm meant to help people, I'm going to need you to show me, to explain, to give me some sign as to why this is happening. How can I utilize this to help people? Like, show me, and I will spend the rest of my life, if I can help myself, if I can get out of this bed and walk again, I will spend the rest of my life helping other people. And it was not that movie moment of just like immediately, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, like grandpa jumps out of bed and is like kicking it and like, let's go. And it was a deeply life altering landmark moment for me, whereby I accessed this tri awakening where I looked at my identity and my health journey and my spirituality all in one precise moment. It felt divine. It's like the only way that I can really describe it. There's never been a moment since that has felt exactly like that moment for me. There was never going back after that moment for me. And it was in that exact moment where I started to change how I felt about life again. And I started to get a little bit more patient. And, despite any kicking and screaming in the years and years later that it took for me to rid of suffering mindset and to heal much of lack mindset and all of these things, everything happened exactly how it was meant to happen. And I couldn't be more certain about all of that than I am now. And I have tremendous peace, monk-like peace, about my experiences. And not just because I'm not in that amount of pain anymore or in that mindset, but because I see now and I feel now and I made the choice. And that choice, that clarity, I mean, my purpose to the degree that we're talking about now didn't come until, a couple of years ago. However, that was the staple moment for me in this lifetime. And I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly grateful that what felt like my greatest downfall was actually my most important upgrade. And everything that I can provide from this moment stems so much from that. And I'm just grateful. Period.
Amazing. Yeah, the parallels between me and you are very fascinating as well. Like, I was never bedridden per se, but I am very physically limited still to this day. But yes, tech issues. But
Cat.
oh, was that a cat attack?
Yep.
That's so funny.
I'm now locking that one out.
That one, yeah, that one's trouble. That Lyran cat needs to go.
Yeah.
Cool necklaces, by the way, before you reset there.
Thank you.
I meant to say.
I can hear
Yeah.
you. Let's see. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah. That was
I was gonna.
not my
Yeah.
cat. My cats are well behaved. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. No, so I was gonna say that the fascinating thing is like I encountered a very similar place for myself. Like I had found spirituality in 2012 with Buddhism, as to counteract. I was in a lot of mental pain and a lot of continuous suffering, and so by 2012 I found Buddhism just kind of like synchronistically, and but that still wasn't like the beginning yet. There was still several beginnings, and to match your event though, like my physical health got to its very end point, where it was like I don't have a future after this. And eventually I just got the idea to pray to the higher forces, to God. And I didn't believe in that. But it was just the thing that you do once you hit the end of your rope. And yeah, some immediately mystical happenings started after that I didn't really necessarily recognize and associate with the prayer, but it did start a chain reaction of getting me forward, at least some forward direction toward the future. So that's fascinating. I love that.
I love that too. Yeah, I'm getting my
Yeah.
confirmation. I get these back tingles that go up and down my back. They're like, yep, that's true for him.
Yeah, yeah. Claire sentience, right?
Yeah. Oh,
All
yeah. I
right.
call myself Claire Everything because we are all Claire Everything, but I don't claim that for people as much as I believe and know that for people. But I refer to myself as Claire Everything. All my Claires are activated.
Claire omniscient. Claire, oh, that's funny. All right, yeah, because that was something I wanted to ask you too. I was like, I wonder if he has. Well, he does readings, so clearly he has activated extrasensory ability and such. So, yeah, you know what? There's tons of synchronicities about me. We can talk about those some other time. But to get back to that process, I guess another piece that I want to know is, so when did you When did you find all of the interesting like spiritual modalities? Like when did Reiki come to you? When did light language come to you? When did the extrasensory powers activate for you after that point in time?
Okay, well, that goes back a little bit further.
Really? Okay.
So actually a lot of it further, but well, okay, so my awareness and when things activate are two very different things. Um, my first health journey started when I was 4.5. And I was dying in the hospital literally of pneumonia for 10 days. Um, I have now come to learn that what happened during that experience most likely was something called a walk in, which is a concept whereby basically there's so much trauma of whatever reason, whatever layer, whatever choice, the soul is like, I'm out. And then another part of your soul, possibly from a parallel place, another lifetime, pops in and can integrate fully or not. I did. That wasn't even my only walk in, apparently. This is relatively new information for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I actually had, well, not the part that there was a connection from this incident when I was 4.5, but um, being told that I was a walk-in and what a walk-in was, and getting actually the confirmation on my birthday. What's it, 29? 2 days ago, I got
Oh, no way. Okay.
confirmation in an Akashic record reading about my walk-ins a little bit more, and so one of them makes a lot of sense that it would be at that point. And so basically, yeah, of course, imagine how much trauma comes in for a small child in a circumstance like that. And I would absolutely say that from that point was probably when things started to activate. Um, it's possible that it started sooner. So I spoke very early. I was able to speak in complete sentences at 7 months. Were they like cognitively brilliant? No. However, you find 7 months, 7-month-year olds who are usually, talking in a complete sentence. Um, and so, you know, ultimately, as a star seed, as an indigo child, as someone who has been here many times before, I'm sure that a lot of these things started early on, just even by the fact that people recognized my purpose and my gift about me um, immediately. I mean, basically,
Yeah.
before I could even understand that, and so when I believe that things started much sooner, there were definitely things that later in life I started to get remembrance of from all these things in childhood to be like, oh, like that was a spiritual moment, or that was a paranormal experience, or that was this and that and the other that I just did not grasp, like way over my head because I didn't have, that guidance at that time or that awareness. For me, when everything really started to blast off and to more awareness, was certainly after this bigger, the tri awakening aspect. Um, and ultimately, things just got stranger and stranger over time. But it really wasn't until the pandemic when I started, and basically just before the pandemic, but really in the pandemic times, was when things started to really get activated for me. And I started to rack up various certifications and waking into various gifts that started to get activated for me. Um, a huge, there's like a lot of components that get into that. Because for example, like there was an experience in my first apartment in Los Angeles because I lived there for 6 years and I just moved back. Where I had that was really like the initial height of awareness of, oh shit, like I don't know what's going on. Things are going on. And those things would be anything from one night I was vaulted up out of sleep, like just complete out astral time. And I see all the way across, like it was a big open studio floor plan. And I'm staring across, I'm like, can't even like process anything, but I just see probably what I would imagine, because I perceive you to be tall. So like I would perceive like your torso all the way up is at minimum how tall this thing was. I'm short. I'm 5'4". So I'm
Wow.
vaulted up, and this thing is hovering, and it is a spiral tornado-looking cylindrical smoke
Smoke being?
extra dimensional. Yeah, like who knows? Really.
Okay.
Um,
Smoke tornado. Okay.
I've still not experienced anything like this since. Um, and that energy was terrifying. And it was whispering my name louder and
Awesome.
louder and coming closer towards me. And I am like, I live alone outside my cats, but I'm looking around like, is anybody else seeing this? No, of course not. I'm alone in my apartment. Um, so, excuse me. So, this entity is coming towards me, and I'm proceeding to get very, very scared. And it's really like, I don't know. I felt, I received that paralysis experience for what I think was my first time in this lifetime from something of that nature. So I could not move, which for those who are checking this out and are not familiar, that is a thing that can happen when you are in shock, especially from an entity that is malevolent. It's totally possible to completely freeze. And it's not just like a freeze, it's like something that they are doing that makes it that you cannot move. And like, no matter how much you want to. And I don't know exactly how long this all went on for, but eventually I was like, I don't want you here. Like, I don't like how this feels. Like, get out. And I got firm. I don't even think I spoke, but I just got firm in my thought, in my belief, in my energy, and it started to back off.
Hmm.
And then I was like back asleep. And the next day
Wow.
I almost questioned whether this was a dream or not, but I am so certain, because I have truthfully not successfully lucid dreamt. So I firmly believe that this occurred. Other types of things that would happen, a fun one, is once I started growing cannabis in a particular closet, suddenly my clairaudience abilities like majorly activated. And I would be sitting in my apartment, and like even if I was watching something or whatever, I would start to hear kind of various levels of whispering to talking of different conversations that were like a lot of conversations. Like if anyone has ever seen Morgan Freeman play God, there you go. And I'm like, but only when this. So I'm like looking around, I'm starting to question a lot of things about my mental wellness at the time. Again, still not truly understanding what's going on, not really having the guidance of this. To give you an idea, this is like 2017. The Tri Awakening we're talking about is like 2015.
Okay.
And so we're talking about the pandemic into late 2019 and 2020. So there's some time, right? Perceived linear time. And so I start to like mute everything around, and I realize that I'm still hearing all of this. So I finally locate, sniff around, become, a little detective, and I open this closet, and it is like an orchestra of emotion and energy and frequency and sound of conversations. And I like close the door. It's more quiet. open the door, and I'm like, so then
The sound comes back.
I start
That's
to
funny.
bring people over, and I'm like, I need you to not judge me right now. And they're like, okay. I'm like, I'm gonna ask you to open this closet, and I just want you to authentically tell me what's like happening for you. You know, and I'm like, okay. It's like person opens. Oh, some nice plants you're growing in there. Like, how's that going? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're done next. Like, only one other person that I knew at the time was like, oh, I hear it,
Really?
and I was
That's
like,
impressive that anyone else heard that. That's awesome.
I was like, thank you.
Thank God.
Okay.
Did you make sure you were like, I'm gonna pick my spookiest, like, mystical friend to come over and see if they hear anything?
Yeah, no, I did. I definitely was like, if anyone, you. So like, so I definitely, other interesting things. I had this wooden table that I purchased that was made out of different slabs of wood from all sorts of different things. It was hand put together, screwed, whatever. And the screws would move. Where it was bolted in, the screws would move. And there, I started to take pictures actually to track the fact that there were more or less holes and different screws. I had, imagine that was probably a poltergeist because I also had cabinets at random opening and plates falling out and breaking. And I had one of those like old school, like literally from like educational system school, like LED light. Are those LEDs? Whatever. Like those old like,
Fluorescent?
yeah,
Like the,
probably
the
that.
annoying ones.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%. And it would constantly flash and flicker to get me to go into the kitchen, and then only when I would be underneath it, no one else. So if anyone else came in, it wouldn't flicker, it would just stop and stay solid. They move, I go under, flashing rapidly. I had various objects show up in that apartment. No one will be upfront like and tell me like because I don't think they can. Like I think everyone is telling me the truth. I only had so many people go through that apartment. Like I had a tarot card, I have a statue that I found again that I had like forgotten entirely about of Hanuman. If anyone's
Cool.
interested, look up that that
The
got
monkey god.
yeah. Um, I had a lot of things disappear. So a lot of wild things were happening. But again, I mean, I understood that these were paranormal things. I knew what a poltergeist was. I was intrigued by these things already, and like does not even scratch the surface of where I am now.
In terms of like cool mystical things happening, you mean?
That and just my interest, my desire, my
Oh,
infatuation, my ability to understand, and overstand what is happening, and the gifts that I've had. Now, the pandemic, where it really shifted was so at the beginning of the pandemic, I was bedridden again from a really bad fibromyalgia situation, and of course, at that point, Trannabis Chi existed. Trannabis was existing. I was already doing Tai Chi and Qigong. I was already, um, leaning into some of these topics, but ultimately not there. Like, I was not really doing much else. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, again with this lesson where I am bedridden at a critical time for the world where I feel like I could be providing value and I actually have gifts now to provide value
hmm.
for Tai Chi and Qigong. Like, why did you put me through all this training and all this stuff? For this, how am I going to help? So I started to do virtual healing events called Body, Mind, and Soul events. We did, I think, 7 of them. And I would invite various practitioners of all sorts of modalities for us to virtually provide experiences and for people to tap in around the world. With how that felt and how that went, I started to get much more aware of other things. And then about 9.5 months or so into the pandemic, when that was at a point where I was able to get tested and things because of my health status and everything, and my parents were literally trapped in their place in Santa Fe, and my friend and I drove with the cats up to Santa Fe, and their place is so spiritual. It's a vortex. There's so many portals. I'm so deeply connected there. It's Tsuki land initially, that I pay homage to every time, and I believe that I've had experiences within that tribe as much as I know of other indigenous. I have not had those remembrances yet, but I can't describe what occurs for me when I'm there. I had never been somewhere before and immediately burst into tears because of the level of connection that I felt. And just like, it was like I could feel all of the pain and all of the celebration and all of the everything on a full somatic everything level that I've never experienced anything like that. And during
Wow.
that trip was when I started to really start to have UAP experiences. For those who don't know, that's
Cool.
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
UFOs are included in that. It's just a wider, more inclusive way of discussing. Um, and and I started to get footage, and I started to get pictures, and I started to connect to Chris Anthony, who is my Lyran Elven hybrid higher aspect, that is the leader of my collective known as the Light Collective, and proceeded to just activate in all these ways. And then shortly around all of this, like, still not really understanding what was going on, like through all of that, a little bit before that, I ended up um, earlier in the trip, like getting in through Clubhouse and like finding out about all of that. And then that was like, boom, here's all the spiritual people you need to connect with in your soul family, and they're going to activate you one after another. And that was kind of how that happened with the light language and the Reiki and the oracle readings and the intuitive. And I mean, my first event for the pandemic very early on was for 420, this high day event where my spiritual mother, Maggie Mae Wilson, who is also the founder of the Metaphysical AF podcast, the Cannabis Metaphysical Oracle deck, and also just an all around crushing CMO at Fruits Labs. Like, she was right front and center at this massive virtual event. It was the only one that I felt called, the only session I felt truly called to be at was hers. And she was talking about what the clair senses were and leading us through meditation and all of this stuff that I took all these notes on. And that sequence of all of those things just showed me how much I could help people. And I started to thrive on Clubhouse. In like a very initially unhealthy way of like literally 18 hours a day on
Damn.
Clubhouse. You could find me, but I was living my best life at the time because, of course, I was craving connection and intimacy because I'm in love, unconditionally in love with intimacy and connection. So I was craving that, and I was craving that guidance, right? That I didn't have, and suddenly all of these things that I experienced and were talking about and felt, other people were talking about around me and feeling, and I was like, oh, I'm not alone. And anybody who's listening to this right now, I guarantee has had that moment. And if you haven't had that moment, I hope that moment's for you right now, because that moment will happen for you when suddenly you realize how not alone you are. And it's magical. I mean, I did light language rooms for hours and hours and hours where we would have sometimes upwards of like, I think the most we had maybe was like in the anywhere between 50 and 70 people in there, all singing, speaking, chanting, discussing light language, going into rooms, talking about extra dimensionals, doing guiding meditations with sound healing, doing oracle card readings and intuitive readings. I mean, that's where I met my Reiki master practitioner. That's where I
Wow.
met my soul family, in the remembrance. I mean, all of this. For whatever people want and have to say about Clubhouse, and even the things that I don't always enjoy or love about Clubhouse. I'm barely on Clubhouse right now. And Clubhouse was and is something fixed point for the trajectory that was necessary. And I don't believe that anything is all good or all bad. What I believe is that Clubhouse has done and is doing exactly what it was designed and meant to do. And there are millions of people who can thank Clubhouse for connecting, for getting an opportunity, for helping them feel less alone, for activating their gifts. And I am simply one example of my entire life was changed from that. And so those are all the events of the landmark moments that I feel called to share right now that lead into how all of these gifts got activated. And when I started using them was the moment that I realized and had people confirming for me that I had them and I was meant to share them and that people were receiving value from them. And I felt a wholeness like I'd never imagined.
Wow, that was quite the pantheon of experiences. That was unexpectedly awesome to hear about. Yeah. Yeah, you
Thank
touched on
you.
everything. The poltergeist, the extraterrestrials, and you know what is most fascinating to me is the fact that the last thing, the clubhouse thing, the fact that you said sharing with talking to these people is kind of what activated you more. They introduced you to light language and Reiki and stuff, and you realized you could also do them. Was that correct?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it was also people helping me to realize that these were things that I naturally had been mastering in various forms of myself, and so like these weren't things that I needed to be afraid of. These are things that are meant for me as well. They're meant for all of us, and I was simply had the choice to tap into them, and it helped me to heal myself, and it helps me to co-create and support and empower that experience for others. And I believe that tapping into these things are critical within an experience of unconditional love.
Nice. Yeah, the weird thing is that that's something that I need. That's actually a piece that I needed to hear because like for most of my journey I have been isolated and alone, mostly because of the health thing. But also from, social anxiety, having to fix like a broken personality, you could say, a suppressed personality, an inauthentic fear-based personality. And so that's very interesting to me to hear that like communing with other people was part of the solution. Like it wasn't just all an internal journey where you're meditating and trying to fix yourself. Part of the solution was actually just chatting with people online that had similar interests, and they showed you what you needed to hear. So ironically, that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm finally like, you know what? I'm kind of sick of this like monk cell thing where it's just like I'm just waiting to be perfectly fixed before I start hanging out with people and talking to people. Like I'm talking to you right now. I'm doing the podcast thing. That's part of me reaching out to other people and being like, hey, it's time to go with this mission. Like, there's no more time to lose here because the earth is changing and we really need to like get the highest timeline going where like things actually go well for all of us. So yeah, I'm kind of doing the same thing right now. And, that's very hopeful to hear that like, talking to people like you is going to start filling in some pieces for me and like actually accelerating my own journey and making it easier, hopefully. So that's awesome.
I love that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? We're activating one another. We're that's the whole thing. I mean, I always say to people, why are there billions of us? And if you want to shrink it into a smaller number on a more meta level, why are there 144,000 souls? Right? So no matter how you shake it, the one I believe is made of all. The one is the all. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me in
True.
another
Yeah.
form. So, of course, communicating within the collective consciousness is important. It's part of our
Good point.
growth, it's part of our humaning. And, I feel you on the social anxiety. I'm neurodivergent. For a long time, I was told, you are an extrovert. And
Hmm.
that was the mask that I wore until someone said, oh, I'm an ambivert. And I was like, stop, what's that? I feel like that's me. My whole body is like vibrating. I'm so excited to hear what this is. She's like, well, sometimes I really need to be internal and I recharge best alone and I really need my alone space. And also, sometimes I feel really social and extroverted. And it really depends on the circumstances around the environment and how many people and who the people are and this and the other. And I was like, oh, it's me. I was like, you just gave me, I was so emotional. I was like, you just gave me such a huge, huge, like, unmasking and reality check and like piece that I was just like completely unaware of. And I didn't even realize that I had undergone all this programming of like, this is who you are. And so this is a mask you're wearing because I decided it was authentic because I didn't know anything
Right.
else. And it didn't feel accurate for me to say I'm fully an introvert. That wouldn't be true. So, definitely finding your people, your tribe, your community, however someone wants to refer, your collective, your soul group, your key group. Like, we're all here coming together divinely, finding our people, attracting people who and of what the frequency we're putting out. And as long as you are intentional about what that looks like, if you want that higher timeline, call in and claim and embody that higher timeline, and it will attract to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really what I'm working on right now too. I was like, whatever I was doing before, it wasn't working. I never got what I wanted. I didn't really get anywhere. I don't have anything to look back on that I'm like, yeah, I'm so proud of myself. So now I'm like, all right, we're doing highest timeline. We're doing the highest timeline thing. We're going to align to stuff. We're not going to be afraid to get it anymore. Now let's just do it and we'll see what happens. So it's really the funnest way to live life, I think. And so, yeah, that's another thing I'm actually working on too. The Abraham Hicks sort of ideology, so to speak. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the 369 Nikola Tesla method. I used to add Abraham in, but then it became just a lot. So I've found that, the Nikola Tesla 369 way of manifesting and I also have manifestation spells and manifestation offerings, as I mentioned earlier, are the ways that I really step in and step up. And I'm a manifesting generator specific for those who know human design. So that means that I got to be careful what I say. I got to be careful. I need to make sure that I am specific. I need to make sure that what I'm saying and doing and calling it is high vibrational because if I'm not careful, like I manifest so fast and so powerfully once I know exactly what I want. You know, you, there's a lot there. If anyone is interested in learning how to manifest powerfully with plant spirit, reach out. I've done a couple of events and I've got some recordings and various things that might blow your mind.
Totally. I'm probably going to check those out too. But I think what you just said is fascinating because it although it kind of seems like a curse, it's kind of like the universe is leaving you no option but to be the best at manifesting because what it's doing is showing us like everyone else what the best way to do manifestation is. It's about being so like finely attuned to being intentional about every aspect of it. That is the way to actually manifest the highest and best results in a powerful way. So you're kind of embodying that in that your circumstances are forcing you to make sure that you do it right. Otherwise, you're going to get the negative things as a result. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I believe that we have free will and we have the ability to choose in every moment what it is that we desire. A lot of people say to me, well, I don't have what I want. I say, well, what do you want? They say, I don't know. I say, okay, there's your problem number one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you
that'll
know,
do it.
if you don't know what you want, you're not going to manifest what you want. You need to know what you want. You need to set the intentions. You need to take the inspired actions. You need to put all these things together. It's not just a pure sit and waiting game. Even though, for example, as like a manifesting generator specific, like one of the things about that human design is that you are to wait, essentially until you're called upon for a lot of opportunities. And that doesn't mean that you need to necessarily wait for every opportunity to happen in order to claim it as yours. So honor your power and speak for what it is that you want because we don't get what we do not ask for.
Yeah. Right, right. Sorry, I'm processing everything. I was like,
No,
wait a
take your
second.
time.
Is there like one of the eight things that we talked about that I should probably like get back to? No, but this is good. Yeah, the human design is not something I've gotten into yet, or the Nikola Tesla 369 manifestation method. So this is something I found interesting while doing research about you. Is that I found one of the podcasts you sent me. I found it was actually the Maggie Wilson podcast, but that you're actually included as an oracle card in her deck. I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
it's
a story behind that? Like, how did that come to be?
I'm still processing it. I mean, it's the level of honor that I feel to be in any deck, but and specifically her deck. Um, it's so profoundly deep and emotional that there are no words. Um, I had absolutely no idea for a really long time that this
Cool.
was
That's kind of
happening.
cool.
Once she got to a part of the process where she felt ready to tell me, I don't actually remember if we recorded it, but like my whole facial expression, everything. I mean, it like I was totally shocked. Um, it's the last card in the deck. It is called the Mabuti card, which is the source card or the key card. It is the last in the deck because it is the culmination of all of the lessons that you learn in the deck into that card. And I was told specifically that basically Maggie channeled in what the card was about, inspired by me, and this and the other, and went to Edge, the artist, and just like gave the message and kind of like, I guess, described a little bit about me, and that was really it. I don't even think that she had a picture of me, if I'm not mistaken. And by the time I actually got to seeing the creation of the card, I was blown away at how much like it directly looks like me. Like anytime someone sees it, they're like, "Are you in this card?" You know, and I'm like, "Yeah." Um,
Right, because it
and
says Mabuti, not Jamie Wahlberg, right?
right, yeah. Um,
Okay.
so no, it doesn't. Yeah, actually, I can grab it. Ugh, I feel like
That's funny. Everyone looking at it though is like, that's kind of you, man. Like,
yeah. No, it's the spinning image. I truly couldn't believe it. And the thing is, like, my hair is a little bit different now. Like my facial hair, like I was in a different place in my transition and things like that. And
yeah.
I had a lot of different, more crystal jewelry at the time that, at this point has either been passed down or shattered in a million pieces because I was spiritually done with it. Um, so
You're like, no thanks.
this is the metaphysical cannabis oracle deck.
Yeah. The
It's
art is outstanding. I love that. I looked through a few of them on Amazon.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's bestseller on Amazon. It's in all of the cannabis museums across the world right now. I mean, it's just
Museums. Wow.
truly miraculous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous deck. I'm so connected to it, and like part of what I love is that when I connect to it, I'm connecting not only to these beautiful guides from, excuse me, from and within the cultures of her family and background, and also it feels like her. Like I'm connecting and communicating with her and the other people who have inspired other cards in the deck who I've also met. It's definitely reminiscent. Oh, look at that! I'm actually right there on the bottom. Um, there we go.
Oh, nice. It's you got a Cannabis Chi. You have like 10 of them, like the Harry Potter room.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of keys in there, and she was like, yeah, just like something about like the actual reading or the text talks about energy. Here, I can read it short. hold on, this is in a different order, so I just have to find the page.
Yeah, I notice sometimes the Oracle deck manuals, like the table of contents, could be better. Could be done better. Like I have a hard time finding the card for some reason.
Oh, I love how she
So,
does it though. It's in
oh yeah.
alphabetical order.
Oh okay.
So, but it's
Maybe
just
that's best.
it's honestly, I find it way easier for it to be in alphabetical order, because sometimes like there's a lot of different numbers on symbols on a card, and then you're like, what am I following? And then you have to like truly memorize. I mean, she breaks it down by all her different suits and everything. It's truly amazing. But here, so Mabudi is smiling with a welcoming hand movement that is representative of Tai Chi, as multiple keys, in parentheses, circle around him. The last card of the deck is the source card, which serves as a reminder that you have all the answers within you. Balance in all forms is true to any key. Symbols from around him spiral. All the lessons from the cards come to fruition here in a full circle. Mabudi shows us that the key to your happiness is indeed within yourself. Even coming to the cards is only a reminder to spend time balancing the energies inside us all. If Mabudi has shown up for you today, ask yourself, am I ready to transform? Am I ready to heal? Am I ready to co-create? Spoiler alert, you are.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's like your whole MO, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And she channeled this and like showed me all this, and I mean, I'm glad I was sitting down. I mean, like, it's the deck's been out for a while now. I of course had it a little bit sooner, but like I yeah. It's truly the most important and powerful and beautiful happening that's happened to me professionally on a spiritual level, and just what it means to me is really indescribable. I highly
Yeah.
recommend that anyone gets the deck. You can get it at so many shops now, whether it's metaphysical or not. You can find it and go to Amazon as well. I'm telling you, it's a
Yeah.
powerful, powerful deck.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not even like a big like marijuana enthusiast per se, but like just based on the art alone, like I'm like I kind of need that for my collection. Like I've got probably like 10 decks of my own, but and it's still about like it's really ultimately about like the life advice themes anyway. Like the card your card showed. Like it's not even really about the cannabis. It's kind of just about what do you need to hear that day. So,
Well, there's
yeah.
an integration suit, so it actually integrates more than cannabis.
Oh.
Cannabis is certainly the focus, but it integrates all sorts of plants and crystals and through the healing. So there's all these different suits that do help you to integrate it. But being
Okay.
that it's the source card of all the cards, I can't really talk to all the cards
Yeah, yeah.
in a
I mean,
little
it's a
in a little.
marijuana key, so
Yeah, that
awesome. Yeah, that's a
that
life
too.
goal for sure to become immortalized as a some kind of piece of art.
I did
Yeah.
not know that that would ever be something that, it was just never had occurred to me.
I know.
That
It's
would be
it's in my
something.
manifestation now. Like now it's in my Abraham Hicks vortex. I need that. I need some kind of card, yeah. Well, I'm glad I asked about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love talking about it, and they deserve all the recognition with that deck, because truly, yeah, I don't know, 13, 14 decks at this point, and I come to this deck all the time. Not just
Yeah,
because I'm in it, truly.
right. I was gonna say like what's your favorite one to work with in readings? Like do you have a set like two of them that you use all the time?
No, I've shifted through continuously. It really depends on the person, what they're asking, what I ask the decks which ones, who wants to come play. Usually, when I get a new deck, I end up using that deck a lot for a while, but because of also how much I mean, it's been a minute since I was in the transition of the move. I wasn't really doing a lot of readings and things. I've been more in personal mode until literally like yesterday, um, for like a month and a half. But usually I'm doing readings a lot, and so I get to use a lot of the decks. There's definitely waves of time where certain decks will be interested in playing for a while, and I always find that really fascinating when there's something going on collectively that's inspiring that. It's really fun to kind of, see kind of where those things are, especially with various clients, or friends, but I have a lot of different decks that are, span the gamut. I have Oracle mostly, but I have a couple tarot as well, and then things that are very unique in between. I have everything from Egyptian, Lemurian, a whole bunch of animal decks, indigenous decks. I mean, you name it, I'm into it.
Right on. Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun to just get more. Like even if you don't need it, it's fun to collect them. Yeah. But I've got like my favorite tarot is probably the Thoth, the Aleister Crowley Thoth tarot. I don't know if you've encountered that one, but it's more so about the art for the major arcana is awesome. I love it, and the court cards too. The minor arcana people don't really like because they're plain. They're just the objects. There's not like a scene or anything. But I think the major appeal behind them is really like the philosophy behind it. So you kind of have to read like his actual book, and Lon Milo Duquette too does a great commentary on it. But so that's really where the magic is with the Thoth Crowley Tarot. But yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Now I've
Yeah.
heard of it. Thoth and I, yeah, like I have a very big Egyptian history, so and I'm very taken to Thoth, but I don't have that one. No, I have my current Egyptian one that I'm very into is my Isis deck. What is it actually called? Oh, I'm staring at it since I moved this one, I can see it now.
It's funny. It was revealed. Yeah.
No, it wasn't actually. It was already visible. It was next to it. It's the Osset Egyptian Oracle
Ah.
deck. So Osset
Okay.
is another name for Isis for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not just Isis cards. Like all the guides, all the gods. Sorry, I mean they're all guides. But
Yeah.
I also try to respect terminology within the various cultures. Um, all the gods uh, are present. I would say, at least all of the major ones are present in the deck. Um, However, there's like this really powerful. Um, they're getting impatient now. There's a really I know you've been very patient. There's a very beautiful energy that very much is maternal, comes from her energy, and very protective within the deck, and there's a little bit more focus there. I love that deck.
Yeah. I think I need to get that because I too have an affinity for all things Egyptian. If there's like a deck that has like a god per card, then I think that's something I need. Yeah.
Well, as you said that, my
Yeah.
Egyptian Mao baby came over.
Yeah, your Sekhmet, your Bastet came over.
Yep. No, but he's literally an Egyptian Mao rescue. So it's just really
Oh,
funny that as you're talking about, I have a big affinity for Egyptian things. He's the one who came
that's
on
funny. Yeah.
over. Yeah. For those who don't know, they were cats that were worshipped by the gods, and you can actually rescue them. There's lots of them. They come in all different colors. Save them, please.
The Egyptian Mao. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're an awesome cat. Like people think like, oh, they're exotic, so they're difficult, whatever. No, I mean they're mostly cat dogs. Is really the personalities. So if you're someone who wants a dog and you don't have the experience of having a dog, but you kind of want also a cat, it's like best of both worlds
It sounds ideal, actually. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, there's tons of them. They're considered sacred, so they won't kill them there, but they're taking care of the rat problem there. So that's the thing. But people here love them, and they breed them a lot because they're a purebred, but you can rescue them, or really them rescue us, um, very easily. So check it out if you want.
All right. Egyptian Maos, everybody.
They're cute.
So Jamie, I'm curious about I'm curious about the extraterrestrial channeling. So it's not that just that you took photos of the UAPs, but and you also became aware of like your main guide too. You said from Lyra. So I guess a couple questions is: have you like actually met them in dream time, or actually even being like abducted or whatever? And then what have you done from then on, like with channeling extraterrestrials and whatnot?
Okay. So well, that's a lot. So the first thing is that I would not call Chris Anthony my first guide, or my main guide. I would call Chris Anthony what he is, which is my one of my higher aspects, and he's one of 13 higher aspects that came into congruence of frequency all at one time, and he decided to lead, um, you know, lead the inspiration of them coming together to form a collective of the Light Collective. And we all have a collective of higher aspects that come together. Um, I have a lot of guides, as do all of us, right? And certainly we can all resonate with some more than others. So I'm a galactic channeler.
Hmm.
What that means is, well, frankly, I'm still learning a lot of what that means. But in a nutshell, what that means is that I am able to channel information, light language, entities, energies on various different levels from all different planets, dimensions, frequencies, collectives, etc., etc., etc. My vessel does not discriminate so much as chooses benevolent beings and allows for various things to come through. It very much depends, and my gifts have expanded tremendously from where they first were. You can actually go to the Trannabis Chi YouTube and watch the actual initial experience that I had with Chris Anthony, um, because I thankfully thought to record right after it. And so basically, immediately after it happened, I'm almost like continuing the experience, and you're watching all of this unfold for me in real time, so to speak.
Hold up, you
And
froze.
I just proceed to even attempt to express what it was. Oh
Okay,
wow,
there you
yep.
are.
See, that happens a lot when I'm talking some real
Yeah,
stuff there. What was the last thing you
I was
heard?
gonna say, I was gonna say like maybe they're like they're talking to us through the interference. You said that you had recorded it, or you thought to record it after you filmed it, or did it rather.
Right. So essentially, as the larger part of the experience was coming to a conclusion, I decided to record. I don't think I started to record so early, but it was kind of like towards the middle end of it happening, and then I'm proceeding to, in real time, authentically share what's happening and what just happened, and then I start to like actually try to explain what I'm feeling and what was occurred and all of that. It was incredibly powerful, um, and that was definitely like a jump off point for me to mediumship and to really being able to communicate with everything from um, I mean, just anything extra dimensional or spiritual. I'm also a conductor, so I have uh, that frequency that spirits love. Anything paranormal or whatever, because it's high frequency, especially once I became a Reiki practitioner, and everything that really amplified. And I have to set a lot of boundaries. Otherwise, any space I'm in could be real full, and it can be
That's a
very,
good way to put
very
it.
draining. Um, but I love so much all of this. I find it, as you said, super fun. That's a huge part of why I do it, is because it feels amazing. It's healing. It's fun. It's exciting to me. It's interesting. I'm always learning something new. I used to be more of like a trance channeler versus a conscious channel. What that meant for me was that essentially I wouldn't remember anything, like not a thing of what happened. And that was frustrating because if I didn't record it, then
It's like you were sleeping, yeah.
I got it, but I didn't get it, right? Um, and I'm a seeker, like in a now much more healthy way than I once was, and more balanced way is what I mean when I say healthy way in that regard. Um, well, in any regard, I consider balance the health. But anyways, so I, it just started to crack open a lot of things. Now it depends if I'm fully embodying. It will absolutely depend on whether it's easier for them and for me and neat and necessary for me to be super conscious. Other times, like I'm consciously channeling, meaning my eyes are open or closed, but I'm very aware of what's happening. I'm kind of having that more of that experience in multiple places at once, or just information is coming through. Whether it's my clairsentience, my claircognizance, clear audience. I mean, often for me, it's all the things. And I'm able to, once I freed myself from any sort of assumptions or need to look good, um, and I started to trust a lot more, it's amazing. And now, more often than not, I will say exactly what comes through without any sort of thing. When I'm conscious is when they allow me to sort of stop myself, which is interesting. Um, it doesn't mean that I don't feel that I don't have free will when I'm in trance channeling, because, first of all, I will not go into that state for anything that's malevolent. So when I'm going into that state, I'm trusting fully in what's coming through. Most frequently, I'm embodying archangels or collectives of angels and things like that. And that feels like whatever I could imagine having to feel like. Um, I like never want. I always like throw a little like hissy fit when it's over when I have to leave
Understandably, yeah.
that frequency, because it just, the unconditional love and the joy and the excitement and the frequency that's coming through and that other people experience is so awesome. So awesome. Especially if I'm channeling like the Elohim or Archangel Shamuel. These are so high frequency. So it really, it depends. And I go through periods of time where I'm channeling more publicly than not. I know that channeling more publicly and in larger ways is coming. It's not that this has been hidden. In fact, there's tons of videos and lives and all sorts of things that you can see of me singing, chanting, talking about all these things. What happened for me with light language first was writing. And drawing of symbols and sequences, and then went into painting, and then went into singing and talking, or talking and singing, and chanting. It's all a blast. I mean, to me, like, there's a part of me that's like, who doesn't want this? It's just so great. But everyone's got their own path and their own desire. This stuff does not happen without a part of you truly desiring and planning that for yourself. So if you're interested in being activated, know that it's possible for you. Simply ask around, reach out. One of my favorite things to do is to co-facilitate, co-create the space and the possibility of someone activating their light language. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I definitely aspire as well to get to that place. Like I've done I started off with mediumship. Actually, I started off being activated by a medium. Like it started off my clairaudience, internal clairaudience, just like thought impressions is what I call it. But I didn't go too far with mediumship. I did get into that, but I never like had clairvoyance where it started to become like fun for me. It was always kind of like just like a mystery. Like I had to write down the words and then have the other person interpret it. But I definitely plan on getting to where you're at today, where I'm doing more like channeling stuff, light language, galactic beings and stuff. But I think for me, what I need to do is set a solid foundation of self integration, more releasing more fear, more self integration, more meditation, more Manipura chakra, and I think all that's going to come from what we were discussing earlier, more presence in a public sphere, so that having others as a reflection can help me like step into myself more. So I think it's going to come with that as a foundation. But something I wanted to get back to was so so with all these channelings you're doing, is this all just for fun on YouTube, or are you doing like live events like Bashar or something where you're on stage doing this thing for like half an hour and
Well, first of all, if you notice my heart smile there, can't not smile when I hear Bashar come up,
oh yeah.
because when someone brings up Bashar, I immediately see that person, right? So yes. So it's a quick preface, just because also, God, do they all deserve the attention for what the value they have provided. Um, my awareness of Bashar became apparent, and a huge part of my channeling activation and process was through a series called Interview with Ed. And Interview with Ed is partially on the Gaia Network and is also on Vimeo Pro, for Ruben, who is the brilliant, loving soul who is interviewing both the humans and the beings themselves that they're channeling. And there's a couple episodes with Daryl, actually, not with Bashar, but you do get aspects of Bashar because there's clippings that they interweave and everything like that. But
Oh yeah.
frankly, hearing Daryl like for 2 hours talking about Bashar and oh my gosh. Anyway, so for, so it's an incredible series that was hyper activating for me. I've seen nearly every episode. Well, every episode on Gaia I've seen, and I've seen nearly every episode that's on the Vimeo Pro. So I can truly speak from experience. I can't get enough.
All right.
And I don't spend a lot of time listening to other channelers, unless I'm collaborating with them. I'm very particular about what I feel guided to listen to. I used to feel the way that, and I'm blanking on the channeler's name, but there was a particular channel who Ruben interviewed, and she was talking about how she literally like does not consume information. Like she doesn't watch anything, she doesn't listen to anything, she doesn't read anything, because she wants to be what she refers to as a pure channel. And that put a lot of questioning in my mind. I was like, but I love watching and looking and
Yeah.
reading and listening and all
Yeah.
these things. I was like, am I not? I started to question. It's a very important
Huh.
question to ask myself, right? Am I a pure channel? If I'm, going into all these things, or am I just regurgitating? Of course, once you realize that everything in the collective and everything that ever has and will be is in the Akashic, like nothing is new. And we're all receiving what we're meant to receive and sharing what we're meant to share. And I started to look at things differently. And so now I do something in between, right? Well, I honor my intuitive desire of periods of time where I almost do nothing but consume information. Like I will barely sleep for like 2 to 3 months, because I will just be up channeling, receiving information, writing information. I will be watching, binging whatever series I feel called to binge, but there's so much out there. that it's really easy to not even watch a lot. It's actually been for a long time now where I've been in a period of time where I haven't been consuming even a lot of the things that I used to consume a lot. And I think it just comes into, what it is that you need and what it is you desire. There is no right or wrong way to get this information and to channel and all of this, that, and the other. We all have our ways of doing it. And as long as it feels authentic to you, follow that. You'll know in your heart and your soul if what you're saying is real. And it's a really great confirmation when you channel and people are deeply impacted and they give you feedback, because that's a surefire way to know from another perspective of you, a reflection that, yeah, I'm meant to share these things. I'm truly receiving this information. For me, when I do intuitive readings, that is a huge part of how I felt confirmation, because right, that's different, right? I'm not just like channeling something necessarily for the collective. Sometimes I do. I love actually doing readings and things like that on a collective level, and I usually do that for special occasions and things now. But I used to do that a lot more. Um, but when it comes to especially individual, and someone turns to me and says, "Well, yeah, all of that's facts," like, if I've not communicated with you, whatever, like my watching Interview with Ed series had nothing to do with your personal life. So, getting out of the ego, which is not a disregard of the ego. It's not that the ego is wrong or right. It's that channeling is not about ego. Channeling is about receiving and reciting. And there's so many ways to channel. There's so many ways to receive. There's so many ways to convey that information. And people can be very impacted on a lot of different levels because we're all so connected and gifted and multifaceted. You'll find the way that resonates for you. And they all connect, right? Like you said, a medium activated you and you started with your mediumship. And it's like, mediumship is advanced. Like, that's something that a lot of people in their lifetime won't tap into. Not necessarily they can't, but they won't, right? That's not, we know that that's not something right now at the state of where the collective is in our timeline, that people at large are not activating that gift. And so having but it doesn't really matter what your gift is, right? It's a matter of that these are all gifts that we all have access to, that we all turn on these genes. If anyone is interested in looking into the gene keys, I don't know if you're familiar with the gene keys, Paul.
Is
But
that a book?
the Gene Keys a book, and there's also an audio book. I'm a listener more so, but I do have the actual book because there's something very special that comes with the physical book, including
Oh yeah.
pictures and things that are useful. And I'm a very visual and kinesthetic person. Um, and yeah, I have like, it's so much that I have not completed listening to it, and I would absolutely say I started listening to this a couple of years ago. What you can understand is that the Gene Keys was channeled by Richard Rudd. It's within the context bringing in of the I Ching, as well as bringing in other aspects of numerology and other things. But really, it's the concept of our genes. All of those 64 keys are keys activated, and like a light switch, they're on or off, and they activate what is essentially our being, of our core, of our personality, and brings all of this into a channeling that is, it's just spectacular. I can't recommend it enough, and you're able to actually go and find out what your genes are and your keys, and that enables you to activate them and heal them and become balanced them. I mean, it's so impactful that someone even channeled an entire oracle deck based on the archetypes from the gene keys, and I have that. It's incredible.
Oh, is it the Tao Oracle?
No, it's actually the wisdom keepers.
I was gonna say I literally have the Tao Oracle. It's based on the I Ching, but Wisdom Keepers.
Yeah,
Um,
the Wisdom Keepers.
I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah,
I have Kyle Gray here, but closest I think I have to that.
yeah, it's incredible
Okay.
what we can unlock there. I don't remember why I brought that up. Because we were talking
Because
about.
it was the Gene Key book, and you said somebody channeled an entire Oracle deck based on the I Ching,
Yeah,
and
I
I
brought that
believe.
up for a reason.
So the guy channeled a full book about the Gene Key.
Yeah, a
I don't know. Either
thick
way,
book.
that's yeah.
Thick.
How recent? Like, are we talking like 2022,
Oh
2020?
no. Hold on. Wait, where is it at?
Is it one of those weird ones where it's like from 1950 and you're like, how did somebody make this like in this in this time period?
Where on earth is my Gene Keys book? Ah, it's here.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm a big bookie. Like, I don't know if you've seen my channel overview, but like that's kind of my thing. I like presenting esoteric texts of various kinds
I love that.
with a lens of the spiritual advice within them. So, yeah, that's right up my alley.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to turn sideways for a split second because of how this book is here. This thick.
Oh my god. Holy crap. Is that like that's like a zodiac, like an almanac type thing?
Yeah,
Is that sort of the template?
well, I mean, it's both explanation and then literally goes through every single key, the shadow, the gift, the city. I mean, and then you have access to your own gene key, and I have not even read my whole thing because it's so much information.
Wow.
But this was first. Wow, I didn't realize that. He first published it by his own Gene Keys Publishing in 2009, and
Okay.
it's been re-up since 2015.
Damn, 2009. Okay, so he was before the harmonic convergence as we call it. I mean,
Correct.
that's that's the 1990 thing, but like in a Witcher sort of sense, they had like a
Oh,
harmonic
I love The
convergence in
Witcher.
the Witcher.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, fantastic. Even though I don't want to get into how I feel about Henry Cavill leaving. The point is that
terrible.
I'm devastated. The point is don't even want to get there right now. The point is that um, yeah, before also 2012. Like, I absolutely believe that this was, I don't even know what to say. Like, if I could meet this man, I'd be thrilled.
Makes you wonder what he's doing now. Like, is he just in a log cabin? Is he channeling still?
You know what's funny? I've not actually thought to look. And I think it has a lot to
Yeah.
do with the fact that I'm not done. Like, it's just taken me so long. Also, I love the audiobook on Audible specifically because and I mean this with all of the absolute respect in the world. Like, I actually truly love the person who's reading, like, the voice of this, but it's like British AI sounding, but like
But it's real.
yeah, no,
It's a real person.
I perceive to be a real person, yeah.
Interesting.
And
They've just mastered the art of AI.
I don't
British.
even know, like, I can't even really describe it. It's just the perfect voice for it. it's I can't imagine. I need some water. I can't imagine.
Hexagram 64.
Yes, though.
Just like that, yeah.
Like, I can't.
Hexagram 63.
Yeah, it's like even like better than that. Like, I just you'll hear it. Actually, you know what? I wonder if I've sent that to anybody. Do you have Audible?
I did. Actually, no, I should be able to still use it. Like, I canceled my membership, but I still have like 20 books that I can listen to.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah. I think I might be able to send it to you.
Ooh. Well, that would be cool
So,
research.
Yeah, it's deep. It's a lot to process.
Cool. Well, I'm into that, yeah, because like, I'm into astrology and zodiac. Surface level, but I love to explore all the systems, so that's something fascinating I've never heard of before. So I find that very surprising.
There's a lot of information out there and a lot of things that are not heard.
Right on. All right, so back to the channeling then, I guess is so you mentioned the series Interviews with Ed. So that's something cool to check out. And you said you do channeling within your readings sometimes if you're called to do it. So you don't do live events.
No, I do live events. I do
Oh,
all
you do?
sorts.
Okay.
I just not done. I haven't done um, like an in-person live event yet, specifically where
Oh,
I was purely channeling or doing, mediumship in that way. That has not happened yet. It's something
okay.
that I'm very interested in having doing, but I have not had that opportunity yet. But I, more often than not, in my profession, I'm channeling. Whether it is that I'm channeling in Reiki, whether it is that I'm channeling in frequencies, information, beings, I would, my perception is we're really receiving information and we're remembering information, um, retrieving information. Like, this is not information that was per se lost. Um, you know, we just somehow forget or we don't need it
Yeah.
until we need it.
It's a good way of putting it, yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you on stage as the next Bashar.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, um,
we shouldn't sequester it to being like a secondary template to somebody who already exists, but
for sure.
fulfilling those shoes. So,
Yeah, no,
but yeah,
Bashar's great.
I mean, we talked about tons of things, but like we could obviously like dive into any of them, but the last thing that I can think of to ask you about is oh, the Metatron thing. So, look, I literally have the same pendant that you have. Like, I went on your website when David first reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I know this cool guy you should do podcasting with." And I looked at your videos on your website, and you were wearing this in like
Mm-hmm.
several of the videos. So that was like a synchro. Yeah, it's like that conch episode of SpongeBob where you're part of the conch club. Everyone has one.
Forgot
But
about that.
yeah. Awesome. My lanyard fell off, so like on day 4. So I've just had it like a
Oh,
medallion for
interesting.
years. Yeah, I was like, no, you're not
Um,
going to use this as a necklace anymore.
oh wow, yeah, no, I had mine for a long time. So, Metatron, I believe, has had such a bigger history with me long before I understood any of that. But specifically, a soul family member who's very important to me. Shout out to Jessica, Unconditional Self Love Path Goddess on Clubhouse and social media. Check her out. She, upon our first in person meeting, purchased one for me and another one of our soul fam friends on the spot. She just immediately felt called. We were like at this little crystal booth thing at the Central Market in LA. And I mean, I was like totally humbled and blown away that she like purchased that. I was like just really learning about Metatron at the time, just starting to learn about sacred geometry and Metatron's cube. Um, I wore it all day, every day. Um, for I mean, a long time until
For
it took.
years on end.
No, it wasn't years, but it was. I would say possibly a year, something like that. Definitely up there. Before the, I don't even remember what happened, but it broke, and thankfully I had the
Hmm.
pendant, and so I've kept it on my altar, and it lives on top of actually that deck, the
Oh.
Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle deck.
Oh, okay. It's funny because I was going to say, like, I was like, I wonder if Jamie's familiar with Amanda Ellis's deck, the Metatron Oracle deck.
Of course, I have
Since
it.
you- exactly, okay. I was like, there's no way he doesn't know about that or have it, so
I
that's funny,
have
yeah.
it, and then I also have a 3D green printed Metatron's cube that all I have a crystal grid sitting on at all times.
Wow. Okay. That's epic. Right
So
on.
yeah,
Have you heard of the channeled book by Metatron? It's called This is the Clarion Call. It was from 2011, I believe.
I've heard of this. I
You
haven't.
have.
Yeah, I have not read it.
You should. It's really good. It was recommended to me before I cared about psychic stuff. I was being a Buddhist, and I didn't know if I didn't believe in like psychic stuff yet. I'd seen some evidence for it, but I was just sitting in the parlor of the spiritual store. My mom was getting a reading, and the reader was like, "Hey, you and your son, who I can sense out there, you guys both need to read this book. This is The Clarion Call by Metatron, channeled by Robbie McKenzie." And so this is actually the second one. This is the healing book that I'm working with right now. But it's basically like a great spiritual guidebook, like an overall sort of debriefing or guidebook for how to get through this new age. And I've probably read it like 4 or 5 times. It's kind of like manual sized. And I did like a full exposition on it on my channel. It was one of my first, maybe like the 5th video. I went too hard on it. It was like a half hour. I didn't realize how long it was going to be. But no, yeah, that's cool too. So check that out sometime if you get a chance.
Yeah, no, 100%, especially if you like message me, to remind me of the Clarion Call. I'm definitely will add it to the very long list.
Oh yeah, we gotta collect. Yeah, right. You probably have like 8 books to read, but
Oh God,
we gotta collect all the Metatron swag.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that I've heard of it, and I believe in when things are recommended to me that these are, divine messages. So I will listen for sure.
Right on. Yeah, yeah. I gotta get the Amanda Ellis deck too. I think Metatron is displeased with me that I don't have that yet. But
Oh, it's a great deck. It's a great deck. It's big. Warning box.
that's fine. I mean, we talked about. I think we hit my full list here, Jamie.
Well,
But
good. There we go.
I think we could. Yeah, we could probably talk for like 5 hours on this stuff. But yeah, that was a great synopsis. I kept you longer than we would have hoped, but
It's okay.
we got some good content here, and I hope that my microphone isn't going to make this difficult to edit. But it was great talking to you today. I'm glad we made this happen. I'm glad David hopped on that synchronicity and facilitated this meeting. So where can people connect with you after this?
Sure. So right now I am most on Facebook, actually. So you can go and just find my now professional page of Jamie London Wollberg. That is where I'm putting all the updates. But you can find Trannabis Chi everywhere. And you're going to want to focus and look on all of the Wake In channels, which are now everywhere at Wake Into Love with the number 2 or Wake hyphen in. And you will be able to see that updates will be coming there very soon. I'm super, super excited to start to get this information out there, and I'm very grateful to have been on your podcast, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
Yeah, that was exciting catching you at the specific time, right as you're transitioning into that new business model. That's cool too. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Jamie, and I'll see you around the social media and Instagram and stuff. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Namaste. Thank you.
take care, man. Peace out.